Good morning, friends, and welcome back. My name is Mel Rose, and I'm here to share some astrology and tarot. I'm doing something a little bit different today. Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday of this week are dominated by moon aspects with no major aspects or transitions for other planets. So this reading is for the next 3 days, March 8, 9, and 10. We will discuss the tarot card that we can already see here, and then we'll talk a little bit about the astrology for these 3 days. Following that, I'll play another random card that, in the context of the coming up astrology, it may give us something more to think about. So with all of that said, let's go ahead and get into it. The card that currently sits on the side of the page and that stands for all 3 days here is the Nine of Cups. And it is here because it represents or corresponds with the second 10 days of the sun's transit in the land of Pisces. Now, you're not going to see the sun on any of these charts because the sun isn't a part of any of these aspects for the next few days. And I only highlighted the pertinent aspects at this time. So Pisces is a water sign. Cups in tarot represent water element symbolism. Water element symbolism has to do with how things feel to us. It's very much based on, our emotions, our intuitions, what sort of physical sensations arise when we have experiences, what kind of certain knowing or questions that arise, and, in general, how things feel. Does it make you happy? Does it make you sad? Does it make you feel confused or uncertain? That kind of thing. So we come to the Nine of Cups and we see this character who looks rather satisfied with themselves and, sitting on this nice stable bench, dressed in a nice robe with this fluffy red hat. And the 9 cups are just sort of stacked up in this symmetrical way, almost like the rainbow of cups you get with the 10 of cups. But this is the 9, so it's not the ultimate expression of emotional fulfillment, but it is sort of the penultimate expression, if you will, of emotional fulfillment. And that is having come to a place where we know how, when, who, what, where, why, to give of ourselves emotionally, to give our good, to give our kind regard, our best efforts, to give our enthusiasm or joy to a situation, or even to give our love to a situation, a person, place, or thing, an event. We've figured out how to give that and to do it in such a way where what we give gets reciprocated, so that we can feel really satisfied that, when we give our support, we're receiving support as well. And feeling that way, that's a really emotionally stable and supported way to feel. It can feel, somewhat like satisfaction, and it can also, feel like, hey, I finally have gotten to this place where I can just sit back and sort of enjoy the pleasures that life has to offer and not, worry about, not worry too much about whether my investment is being, is being taken seriously or reciprocated, right? So that's the Nine of Cups. It does come with a warning not to become complacent, not to take for granted what it is that you have earned here, because certainly you have earned this position, by learning how and when and where to give of yourself in ways that will be reciprocated, and, just not to take it for granted and not to, sort of think of yourself as being better than other people because you figured something out that they haven't figured out yet, right? So Nine of Cups, almost the ultimate expression of emotional fulfillment, except that this person this is what this person could do on their own, right? And with that said, I'm going to move on to the astrology. On Wednesday, which is today, I always record the night before, so you'll be seeing this on Tuesday night or Wednesday morning probably. So on Wednesday, the moon will make a trine with Pluto, and that's at 8:07 a.m. Central Standard Time, friends. The void, of course, at that time, that's the final aspect in Virgo for the moon before moving on into Libra. So the void, of course, at that time is only 37 minutes. That is the time that we kind of set aside sometimes to or to read, reflect, journal, meditate. It helps us get more in touch with sort of the moon's vibes as they're coming to us, a little less filtered through a particular sign at that time. So, it can be a good time to dive into the creative, intuitive practices. When the moon is trying to Pluto, though, actually that's a trine, not a square. So what comes up can be intense, but what the other stuff I wrote here doesn't really apply, because when the moon is trine to Pluto, those intense things that come up, those things that we discover or recall or just come to understand, those things, we have an easier time seeing through to the core of things, feeling through to the core of things. And when it's trine, it's really positive. It's easy to deal with the things that come up, and it's possible that we can, sort of put those new ideas, those new thoughts, and understandings to good use for ourselves. And then on Thursday, the moon is going to go in opposition to, the moon will be in Libra, will go in opposition to Jupiter at some point that day. Moon and Jupiter always get along really well. Moon and Jupiter want us to have a good time, feel social. We feel, the growth and the positivity in our own lives, the good fortune that we're experiencing. And, we want to share that with other people. However, in opposition, there is the potential for conflict. So we want to be careful about giving unwanted attention, about receiving unwanted attention, or, just a tendency that we might have to go too far or to give too much, to promise more than we really have to share. Okay, so be careful about that. Share what you've got, but, don't overcommit at this time. And then on Friday, the moon is going to have several conversations. The moon will be in opposition to Venus at 3 in the morning, and then trine to Mars at 5 in the morning, and then, and then square to Pluto at 5:30, and then trine to Saturn at 6:51, both in the evening. So, this creates a couple of shapes here. This moon opposite Venus really can put us in this mood of feeling like, we desire attention and affection, but there are conflicts that can arise based on, how we go about getting that attention and affection, right? It can lead to conflict if we are coming across as sort of needy, selfish, or self-indulgent. And here's Pluto here square to both ends of that opposition, saying, stuff is coming up. There are core truths in these relationships that need to be addressed. Okay, and that can be really challenging, but we're also being given sort of a green light here to take action, to go ahead and try to clear up some of these areas, these core areas of tension in these relationships. Okay. And then, the moon makes a grand trine with Saturn and Mars today. Saturn and Mars are both direct. Saturn has just moved into Pisces. Mars is still in Gemini. Here's the moon in Libra. So it's not a full air trine, okay? Saturn is in a water sign, so that's a pretty tenuous trine. But it's really just about, collaboration. It's about thinking and planning. And definitely probably using a little bit of our imagination to think about how it is that we can materialize that stuff that we dream is sort of the best possible outcome for ourselves. So that grand trine is really good, auspicious functioning for taking care of business at home, like any repairs you need to make, any bills you have to pay, any tidying up you need to do. Really, putting in the effort on the home side today can go really easily for you when it comes to taking care of business. With the caveat that there's also stuff coming up in our home side relationships that, especially coming back to our desire for recognition or attention, that might be a little more difficult and challenging, but definitely will be, up for addressing those problems. And so with all of that said, I'm going to go ahead and pull this card. Oh, I got the King of Pentacles. I like that. So Pentacles is earth element symbolism. It's very much about the physical resources we possess and what we're willing to do with them in terms of work, in terms of investment and expenditure to create a sense of security and support for ourselves. The King of Pentacles is a very Taurus vibe. You can see that by the bulls on the throne there. And look at that nice solid earthen looking, it might be kind of wooden looking throne with a wall right behind it. It's very much about establishment of comfort, establishment of security, just sort of, enjoying the luxuries that life has to offer. But on this level, it's more like the physical things that life has to offer, having those things at our disposal. Kings represent mastery. So this is a person who has mastered their ability to establish security. They've mastered their ability to make money, or to make sure that they have the stuff and things that they need to feel supported. Kings don't just work for themselves. Kings are servants to, a number of people. So we recognize with the King of Pentacles that we have people who rely on us to kind of have our stuff together, right? we have people in our lives that rely on us to know how to be secure in ourselves and how to establish secure surroundings for them as well. So that can be a very parental vibe. That can be a very dad with the pocketbook money vibe. But it doesn't have to be a dad vibe. It can be just a parental vibe or a boss vibe. Somebody who, again, that people rely on, and the necessity of that person having some sort of mastery over their work, over their investment, over their expenditure, over their physical resources, right? So, King of Pentacles, where are we seeing this on the page right now? King of Pentacles. Well, I'm seeing Pluto in Capricorn twice. And Pluto is at 29 degrees Capricorn. It is really, really any day now going to move on to 0 degrees Aquarius, and then it'll be a whole different Pluto cycle. So Pluto's been in Capricorn for at least around 20 years, maybe 20 to 30 years, including some retrogrades back into Sagittarius at first. And so, Pluto is the bringer of transformation. It brings us through our highs and lows of experience so that we can gain that mastery, so that we understand, like what has been too much and what has been not enough, and how we go about just establishing for ourselves what works and what doesn't work. Pluto's been going through Capricorn. Capricorn is about our structures, our institutions, our habitual ways of being, even our culturally habitual ways of being, but also our personal habitual ways of being, that help us to establish security for ourselves in our life. And Pluto's been going through Capricorn saying, this doesn't do what it said it was supposed to do anymore. This never did what it was supposed to do. This isn't working for this reason. This is not secure for this reason, right? So sort of tearing down old edifices, tearing down old habitual, personal and cultural habitual ways of being, tearing down old institutions, old buildings and houses, that no longer serve a purpose, or that no longer really work, so that when Pluto gets into Aquarius, we can begin to rebuild. We can create, or we can replace systems, buildings, habits, institutions that were no longer working in the old way. We're going to rebuild them so that they work in a new way. So that they are more applicable and germane to what it is that's going on with the world right now and for the next 20 years. And it's really going to have a lot to do with the people who rely on us. It's really going to be about community, collective involvement, and it's really going to be about that support and security being for everyone involved, not just for the person at the top, right? So now we put this together with the Nine of Cups. And the Nine of Cups and the King of Pentacles, these are different kinds of security, aren't they? Like this person has gained mastery of their resources, their habits, their work, their investment, their expenditure. They've gained mastery over the ability to create physical security and comfort for themselves and others in their lives. And this person has gained a certain level of mastery, not complete mastery, okay, but a certain level of personal mastery when it comes to how we give our love, how we invest our joy and our enthusiasm in certain people, places, things, situations, events, and the mastery has come with like knowing where to give it and when to give it, and being able to have faith that it's going to be reciprocated, right? So this is about knowing what you have to give and not giving more. This is about having good boundaries about what you're willing to give of yourself emotionally and in terms of intuitive work, in terms of that sort of soft work that people don't see or don't seem to understand or respect, right? And that can even come back to just sort of social skills, right? Our ability to relate to other people. So this is a level of maturity in our ability to relate with ourselves and others that puts us in a place where we don't have to feel uncertain about whether we're getting what we need, because we're giving ourselves everything that we need, and we're not investing our hearts and our time and our goodwill and our effort in situations that are going to leave us feeling unsupported, right? So emotional support and physical support, and water and earth are complementary. Okay, when you look at the chart, you see water and earth are every two signs around the chart. So they're always sextile to one another. They are very cooperative. They work together. If you think of water and earth, you can think of like adding water to clay to create a thing of beauty that is also a thing of utility. You think of like cups, you think of plates, you think of earthenware, things that provide support, that provide a vessel, so that we can sort of encase what we have in something that we know where it will stay, right? Okay, so these are different levels of security, and I would even maintain that it takes a certain amount of emotional security to get to that point of material security, right? Because you have to know that you're going to have what you need in both cases, right? You have to know that according to the expenditure that you have calculated, you can make based on what you have and what you think it is worth to get what you're after, right? You have to know that you're gonna get your proper compensation out of a situation. And I realize that talking about compensation in terms of emotions it sounds a little bit strange and messed up, but the truth of the matter is that even though you have a bottomless well of love and of heart to give to things, the fact of the matter is that it is never very satisfying to give and give and give to a person, place, or thing and never have that giving reciprocated, never be acknowledged, never be appreciated, and never get any of that that goodwill or that love or that enthusiasm back. Okay, so we have to make sure that we're in situations that feel emotionally, intuitively, socially, relationship-wise balanced, okay, so that we know that we'll be okay no matter what. And also with the King of Pentacles, when we're giving to situations, we want to have some mastery over, this understanding that, what I pay out, I have to have reciprocated to me in some way, right? What I give of a situation, and it seems much easier when it comes to Pentacles stuff, because you can just say, okay, I'm going to do 3 hours of work, and for 3 hours of work, I expect X amount of compensation. And there's a deal that can be made before you even put that work in. Whereas with emotional work, it can be a little bit more like, hey, give your love and care and enthusiasm to this situation, and people will expect that to come from you for free, because it's, that bottomless cup of love, and because, if you like something, you just like it. If you want something to succeed, you just want it to succeed. But we have to really be good. Like, this person is probably good about negotiating what they get in returns for their expenditure, for their work, or for their investment. This person needs to become good also at negotiating what they get in terms of compensation for their investment, right? So if I give You know, if I commit to you in a relationship, like in a romantic relationship, and I say, okay, I'm going to see only you and I'm going to be with only you, then, you know, we have to be willing to negotiate out loud the terms of that. Like, and if I do these things, then you're going to see only me and you're going to be with only me, right? And if I am kind to you, then you're going to be kind to me. And if I give you my love, you're going to give me your love. And if I help you out, if I give you emotional or intuitive support, then I can expect to get emotional, intuitive support back from you. Okay. So, don't forget when you're making those emotional investments that, you know, yes, it does help to become wise about, you know, being able to see situations where, you know, I know that if I invest my emotions in this, I'm not going to get back what I need. It's very valid and even needful to learn those lessons and to be able to see from the start, like, oh, this is not something I probably want to get involved in. But then, you know, if you do think you're in a situation where you want to get involved, where you want to give of yourself emotionally, then, you know, give of yourself in relationship, give of yourself in terms of goodwill, then, you know, it is okay to negotiate those terms out loud and say, okay, I'm going to give of myself here, but you know, this is what I need in return before I make that. So here's a message about mastery. Here's a message about negotiating, about knowing what it is that you want, knowing what it is that you have to give and what you're willing to give, and understanding that reciprocity is so important, and in part because it's not just you. Right? It's not just you relying on yourself to be able to have this good judgment. It's other people relying on you to have this good judgment too. All right, friends, I think that's all I have to say about it today. Thank you so much for joining me. I truly appreciate your presence here. My name is Mel Rose, and I'll see you all back here tomorrow, or actually probably Friday night, for more Astrology Today and Tarot.